Today we are on location talking with Josh Hood from AAC, Advanced Armament Corporation. They're known as being an innovator in suppressors and silencers, and they have a couple new ones to talk about, the Ranger 5 and the Ranger 7. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by ATN Optics. Welcome into Gun Talk Nation on location. If you're listening to this, you're going to hear birds and like, oh, they're not in the studio. And if you're watching this, it's really weird because what you're seeing is Josh Hood with AAC. Welcome in, man.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me.
And what you're going to see behind us is a saloon. Yes, an entry to a saloon. So what is this place? Where are we?
So we were at Cavern Cove. So basically it's outside of Scottsboro, Gurley, Alabama. Basically they do a lot of SAS shooting here, and we do all our R&D testing and sound testing out here.
Perfect. Well, it's perfect for that because it's quiet.
Exactly.
Yeah, so basically a shooting range, and why this looks like this is because they do a bunch of cowboy action stuff, right? So there's a church, there's a jail.
There's a kiddies brothel. Yeah, it's a lot of...
Gotta have the brothel.
Gotta have it.
Yeah, and the bar room, so you can get a beer, sarsaparilla, whiskey. Sarsaparilla is 10 cents, so...
long time gone.
Yeah, yeah. But we're here to talk about AAC, talk about what you guys have been up to, talk about your history with the company, and also some of your stories with working in customer service. So people know, I mean, to me, AAC is kind of one of the granddaddy companies of modern silencer technology,
right?
Advanced Armament. Talk about that.
So basically, we came out of the bankruptcy with Remington, got in with JJE Capital, which is the investment firm, the Palmetto State Armory, and they brought us all back and took hands off and said, hey, just do your thing. So we're trying to bring AAC back from the ashes of Remington and basically put it back on the map and be back at that forefront again. So yeah,
I mean, and I think us in the industry, we kind of know the whole background of it, but so AAC, Advanced Armament, has started by Kevin Branham, right? And out of Georgia, grew it, really had some neat technology, got sold or got bought by Remington or Cerberus, whoever it was at the time, investment group. And then as part of that big Remington, Marlin, DPMS, Bushmaster, all those guys.
That monopoly-like thing.
It was this huge thing of like 20 brands. And then went into bankruptcy, bought by
JJE Capital.
Capital. So is part of Palmetto State Armory. All you guys know Palmetto State Armory.
Right.
So you are part of that. And I like what you said. They kind of just let us do our thing. So you guys are up here in Huntsville, Alabama area.
Right.
A small but mighty group of silencer aficionados.
Exactly.
What's your role at the company?
So my role right now was brought on as customer service. So I was with Remington from 14 to 18 as customer service, and then took the lead tech role of AAC in 2015, 2016, and just took that over. And then once they got everything back together, Ben Bachmeyer reached out to me and said, hey, you want to come be part of AAC again? I'm like, sure, why not? Yeah. So I left my government contracting job, and here I am.
Cool.
So right now it's customer service I'm doing some of the repairs now, doing sourcing. So basically there's about a handful of us, and we all wear different hats, and you know, your day is never the same the previous day.
Everyone does everything, right?
Exactly, yeah. Cross-trained.
and I told you, like, when I hear someone say, I worked in customer service or I work in customer service, you guys have stories.
We do.
You hear from the best and the worst.
Exactly.
I mean, when it comes to silencers, that's kind of an area that maybe people aren't as familiar. They buy it, but maybe what are the things that you hear and see, or what do people do wrong that...
So the biggest thing is with silencers is either you've got two ground of people. You got people who know exactly what they're doing, exactly what they want. And then you have people who are just novice and just getting into it because my buddy or so-and-so said, hey, you need a silencer to, hunt or do this. It's so much better. And it is. So we just hear all sorts of stuff. Mainly it's the repairs that, being 2 years of absent, we just had a backlog repair. So that was my first attempt. Once I got back into it, I was like, all right, we gotta do repairs. That's gonna be the biggest thing. The other thing, you'll have people that just, just put it on wrong, and they'll tell you like, yeah, I just cranked it on and I didn't even check it. And next thing I know, can's 10 yards down range.
Oh yeah, baffle strike.
Right. That or mainly that. And then you have people who just, you know, they want to shoot their can just see how strong the metal is. We've had that and picked out a 5.56 projectiles.
So, and you got to talk about this. Like, so shooting the can to see how strong it is, you don't mean putting it on the gun and shooting it in an unusual way.
No, we mean put it on a fence post and about 50 yards and we're going to pop it with a 5.56 and see what happens.
Shoot the silencer with a bullet.
Yep.
On purpose.
Because titanium was so strong, or apparently they thought it was.
Dude,
and,
titanium is so strong.
And then when you get it in, you have the metal bent inwards towards the core and you dig a 224 projectile out. Yeah. There's only one way that happens.
And you called them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we called them like, hey, man, what happened? And they're like, yeah, me and some buddies, we had a few drinks and got talking and I said, or it's either me or my buddy said that the titanium's so strong to withstand the punch of a 5.56, and we're like, all right, let's see what happens. Yep. And it didn't survive. So don't do that. That's very bad.
Don't do that. Man, what a pain in the butt. I mean, that's so. What other things that you like? What are the common questions? And maybe they're dumb questions, but maybe they're not. I mean, they're not dumb if you don't know them.
Right.
I mean, that people seem to always mess up.
So. The biggest conception is Hollywood quiet. You know, people here don't, see Jason Bourne, 007, all that on Hollywood. And they're like, well, it's so quiet, I've got to get a can. And then they get it, it's like, well, this is louder than I thought. And, they'll complain and we'll bring it in, put it on a sound meter, and it's exactly what it does. So it doesn't get Hollywood quiet. It's quiet under the 140 threshold, 140 dB, which is OSHA safety for hearing safe.
But it's still loud.
It's still loud. I still wear ear pro when I shoot suppress, just to protect my hearing, because it's just a giant shock when that bullet goes off. So it's not just a steady pace like a jackhammer or something. It's a big pop. So it's really bad on the drum still. So I still wear ear pro underneath my muffs, and then when I shoot suppress, I'm wearing ear pro just to protect my hearing even better.
So you get it below 140?
140 dB, that's the OSHA standard for hearing safe, is 140 dB. So
with supersonic loads?
With some supers and some subs. Mainly when it gets over the 140, it's your 308 supers, your 300 Win Mags, things like that. When you get down to 22, 9mm, and 45, you're shooting subsonic or just standard. You're still, I think, 9mm around that 135, 137 with super still. Okay. So it's right there below it, but it's still, I still recommend wearing Hear Pro, yeah.
So I know you guys do this all the time in the silencer world. What would be common noises that people are familiar with that is comparable to, that 130 to 140 dB?
Gotcha. So a jackhammer is roughly around 140, 155, a constant pace, the jackhammer going. Rock concert is anywhere from 110, 120, depends on how close you are to the stage, of course. If you're at an Alabama football game, it's about 130, 120.
Or LSU football game.
I guess, Yeah, y'all just start earthquakes, right?
That's right, that's right. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, if you're running a jackhammer, you're going to wear your hearing protection.
Right.
Unless you, I don't know. You just old school
don't have hearing left,
Yeah, you just
so it doesn't hurt.
So there's been a lot of advancements and changes in silencer technology. I mean, silencers have been around for decades and decades and decades, but almost, gosh, we're coming up on 100 years.
Coming up on 100, yeah. I believe I think his name was Henry. Hiram Maxim.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think it was around 1910, 1920 is when he started doing the silencers back then that you could pick up at a drugstore, order through the mail.
Right.
Didn't have any special tax stamp on it.
Yeah.
So back in the good days.
Yeah. I was telling somebody the other day that $200 tax stamp that came about in 1934, 36, 34?
34, I believe.
It was $200 then.
Right.
And it's still $200, so don't tell anybody.
Yeah, I think they did the equivalent to it now is like $8,500, $8,900.
Oh, really?
With inflation and everything.
It would have been that much?
Yep, and that's how much they want to raise the tax stamp now. They just don't know what number. Because everybody's done got set on $200, and everybody in the industry, they're like, all right, cool, $200. I'll waste more than that.
Be happy with your $200. Everybody said, look, the $200, I don't want to pay $200, but $200 is not that bad. It's not the it's not the thing that keeps you from buying a silencer.
No.
It's the unknown wait time.
The ungodly wait of about a year. But with E-forms, you know, I think I got one back in February. It took me 6 months. Normally I was about 13, 14 months with my clearance. So I'm happy. It cut my wait in half. You know, I don't think we'll ever get, you know, if we do, it's going to be a long time before we get to that 90 days that ATF wanted with E-forms. But I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
Yeah. So that was kind of it could be 90 days, but it's not.
Right.
Don't expect 90.
And I think they've actually adjusted it to 120 or 150 now, just because I guess they had just a giant influx or didn't know how their system was going to process so many.
Yeah, they said 90, and then everyone went and bought one, and now it's like, oh, wait a minute, we can't keep up with all those orders.
So if it's 4 to 6 months, I consider that a win compared to a year. But, you know, like I said, you know, we've wasted more money than $200 in our lives.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So, it's just another, you know, coin in the bucket.
Yeah. So I was starting to bring up, you know, the changes in technology. What are we seeing from 10 years ago to today? What are some of the changes you guys are seeing, and which kind of ties into where you guys are headed?
So a lot of, you know, nowadays, you know, back then it was chasing dBs. How low can we get the quiet? You know, how quiet can we get it? Nowadays, we're seeing a lot of people and a lot of LE and mill customers are looking for back pressure. You know, can we get lower back pressure? Because as you know, M4 2006 are gassy, especially on a full auto. So that was their biggest point. They were like, yeah, we'll sacrifice a few dBs if we get back pressure down. So that's been one of our goals there. The other one has been basically, I consider a standard, industry standard now, using that 1 3/8" back end, getting away from proprietary mounts, which we have seen a ton of people, you know, you buy an AAC or a dead air or whatever, you're stuck to that mounting system. Right. So you've got to buy, you know, $100 mounts each time. You got 10, 15 guns. Well, that racks up pretty quick. Yeah. So we've went to universal thread on the back end, so we can go from direct thread, QD. We're also going to support the 51T fans, so we're making an adapter to screw into it so you can use your 51T, and it eliminates the wobble. So we got that fixed as well. The other thing is weight. You know, we're always chasing weight. So what we've done now is went tubeless design. So once again, like the industry, as it sets, no one wants tubes no more. You know, it adds about a couple ounces of weight that you don't really need. So we just beefed up the baffles a little bit and got that same 1.5 inch diameter and shaved the weight because we're not putting a tube on it. Yeah. And we're also saved, you know, in case of baffle strikes, things like that, we can fix the can a lot better than we could in the past.
More flexibility in servicing it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because back in the day, if you busted your tube, it was scrap. You know, there's nothing we could have done to save it. Now, if you hit a baffle, we can, you know, cut it off, put a new baffle stack, and weld it back up without you getting a new tax stamp or a new serial number.
Yeah, that's nice. But they would send it to you guys to have that service work done.
Right. Yeah, it would have to come to us, you know, get an RMA through our customer service team and then send it in, and then we'll fix it, call you, and let you know when it's shipping back to you.
You mentioned silencers. It's right there in the name. I mean, the goal is to make it quieter, not silent. Right. And you mentioned that maybe in the past we were chasing how quiet could we get it, and that's not as much a concern now. I mean, what's possible, or what's the limit? Because it seems like it's not like somebody says, oh, we've reduced dBs by 60 dBs. Like everybody's around 24, 27, 30, 29. It's all in that ballpark, right? I mean, could it be done in some sort of make-believe world, or would the can would be as big as a Subway sandwich?
So basically that, you'd have to actually grow your diameter, so you'd have to get more volume to your tube in order to either that or make it extremely long, which nobody wants. You know, you don't want a 14-inch can hanging on the, you know, end of your 26-inch bolt gun, right? You know, so basically, yeah, you can make it as quiet as you can. You know, it's just what are you willing to sacrifice?
You know, the suppressor height sights are 3 inches tall at that point.
Exactly, and you don't want that. I mean, the special holster that would have to be made, you know.
It gets ridiculous, but April 1st, they'll be bringing out a new one, you know, so stay tuned, right?
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, is that kind of the range? Is that 25 to 30 dB is what should be expected?
That's where we're going. Anywhere from, you know, 25, 24 up to 32, depending on calibers, things like that. That's normally the sweet spot that we'd like to be in. And then, like I said, we're willing to sacrifice dBs now in order to get back pressure down. So we're, you know, we chase numbers. We're not chasing them no more. We just want back pressure because we know how bad it can be when you're shooting full auto and you got that gas just blowing in your face. You know, you're coughing, you're choking. You can't see. So that's our main goal right now, is to eliminate back pressure.
Okay, so after this break, I want to talk about back pressure and what does that really do for the person if they're not familiar with it. One of the cool things that SIG Sauer has done is create a way that you can swap out grip modules for the P365 and P320 series of guns. Now you can buy a P365 X Macro grip standard module in black, only $80. So you can swap it out on your other gun, and now you kind of have two guns in one. This is a factory replacement for the P365 X Macro. It features a true 1913 accessory rail, 3 interchangeable back straps, small, medium, large, to ensure proper fit for the shooter's hands. The medium back strap comes pre-installed, and it's compatible with the 17-round P365 X Macro magazine, compatible with all P365 FCUs, fire control units, except the manual safety version. So check it out over at sigsauer.com. ATN Smart Optics, Smart Digital Optics. It's Ultra HD day and night vision rifle scope. This is the X-Sight 4K Pro, and at least that's the one that comes to mind. It's the popular one. They have a few different models. They have a 3 to 14 power. They have a 5 to 20 power, and it has a ridiculous amount of features: Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, night vision mode or day vision mode, 18-hour battery life, and you can record video on it, which I really like because now you can show your friends, show your family your hunt through your scopes. They can see what you were seeing in it. And it's actually not that expensive. We're talking about $700 to $800 for a true smart HD rifle scope. Check them out over at atncorp.com. New from Springfield Armory, the Prodigy. It's a 1911 double stack. Takes the proven 1911 platform and enhances it with double stack capacity, performance-driven feature set, reconfigured around a double stack magazine. The Prodigy's polymer grip module mounts to its forged steel frame, offering capacities of 17+1 and 20+1. Optics ready with an ambi safety and pick rail. And this is a 9mm double stack 1911 pistol, and everybody's been very impressed with how it shoots, and they're even more impressed when they find out the price. You can find out more at springfield-armory.com. So back pressure, I mean, so I shoot from the left shoulder, and we were talking earlier about when I put a can on, that's when you really start noticing stuff flying out of the ejection. It's not just the brass, because I never saw brass. I never noticed it. It wasn't a concern. It didn't bother me.
Right.
But then you start having that unburnt powder or gas or whatever. Reducing back pressure, what does that do for the shooter?
So back pressure essentially is the gas that's coming back into the gun. Basically, when you put a can on, you're overgassing the system because all that gas has got to go somewhere. So it's coming back to you. So when you're shooting, if you see how your ejection port just is black or a white mist of gas, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about back pressure. So what we're trying to do is eliminate that as much as possible. So when you're going on full auto, you're not choking and coughing on that smoke. So what we're doing, how we're doing our baffle designs and, venting them and things like that, that's our main goal there. So when, hopefully later today you'll see when we go on the range and pop a few rounds, you'll understand a little bit better. I'm a visual learner, so you can tell me all day long, but until you show me, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the main goal, is eliminate that gas that's coming back into your face so you can enjoy shooting more. With silencer, it's already enjoyable, but if we can take away that gas, it'll be even more enjoyable for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have not shot with silencers, I mean, it really does make it so much more enjoyable. Reducing recoil.
Right, yes, sir.
I mean, which obviously reduces noise. Both of those things will make you a better shooter.
Yep, it will improve your accuracy a little bit as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great things that silencers come with. Like you said, less recoil, quieter to shoot, more accurate. And it's just a better overall time.
Yeah.
I don't shoot hardly anything unsuppressed anymore, and if I do, I do not enjoy it.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. It doesn't matter whether it's guns, guitars, or boats, or motorcycles. We either want stuff to be really loud,
right,
or really quiet. And we want something that's really big or really small. That's like what's interesting, I think, to a lot of people. We got to talk about the new. So we got a couple new things. We're recording this before it's launched, but we'll release it after it's launched. Talk about the new cans for you guys.
So launch date's going to be November 1st. We're looking at the Ranger 5 and Ranger 7. Mm-hmm. So people who's familiar with AAC in the past, we had Ranger and Ranger 2 way back in the day. Direct thread 5.56 can. So we're like, all right, well, let's play on that verbiage. Let's, try and bring that back out. So the Ranger 5 is a 5.56 can that we've overbored all the baffles and end caps at 6 millimeter. So it eliminates end cap strikes. And if you get a super short SBR, sometimes that projectile doesn't stabilize well.
It's like yawing as it comes out?
Yep. Okay. So, your end cap strikes are highly, probable, baffle strikes. So what we did, we just oversized everything on 5.56 to 6 millimeter. So you got a little bit more clearance.
A little wiggle room.
Right.
Literally, wiggle room.
Tubeless design, removable front end caps. So in the past, you used to, if you had an end cap strike, you would send it into us. We'd machine it off, put a new one on, hit it with a weld, paint it, send it back to you. Now, if you get an end cap strike, you just call our customer service or go to our web store, buy the end cap that you need, ship it to your home, and just swap it out with the flash hider tool.
Way easier.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I mean, if you have something weird happen with a bullet that gives you a strike, you're more likely to have it on the end cap versus the baffles?
That's what we've seen.
Okay.
We've seen more issues with end caps than we have baffle strikes. Normally, if you get a baffle strike, you're going to know it because it's going to either launch the can downrange,
right,
or you're going to see it in your mount where it's trying to come apart from the mount. Because when you hit that baffle, it's trying to push that can off.
Right.
So most of the time, we just see end cap strikes, and we'll bring them. It's easy fix. But yeah, that's what we see a lot of. I haven't never had a baffle strike in my 10 years, 10, 15 years of shooting. I've had end cap strikes and, from time to time. But then again, I shoot steel. I don't go for accuracy. So the end cap strike doesn't affect me too bad. Because if I can still hit that 4-inch gong at 100, I'm having a good day.
Yeah.
And so I just pound lead. So that's a big feature. The other big feature is having that, what I mentioned earlier, that industry standard 1 3/8 back end.
That's a big deal.
So now we have it on the 5 and the 7. The 5, they're both going to ship with a direct thread mount.
Okay.
And the direct thread mount, actually, we designed it to have a built-in muzzle brake as well. So when you screw it on, you're going to have that little bit of protection from your blast baffle also.
Okay.
So we see a lot of people that just do the direct thread mount, just threads in, tighten down, and you're good to go. We went that extra step and like, you know what, let's put a port there. Let's put a muzzle brake there.
Interesting. Okay.
Does it add weight? Yes. But in the longevity of the can, it protects your blast baffle better than having nothing there, because that baffle is going to take the initial blunt, the initial hit of pressures before your blast baffle will.
Okay.
And the Ranger 5 will ship with half 28, Ranger 7 will ship with 5/8 24. And the Ranger 7, we beefed it up, so it is now rated for 300 Win Mag. So in the past, N6, SD, all's been 308 and less.
Right.
He's like, you know what, let's just beef it up, build it. And now they're rated for Win Mag, 300 Win Mag. So we're trying to cover all the bases, trying to be more in line with the industry, because AAC back in the day was a front runner. There was always the new kid on the block, here's our new technology. So we're just trying to get back there. So yeah, tubeless design, welded, you'll be able to see the welds. We're doing laser welding now, so it's a lot more consistency, a lot more, they all look the same. So you don't have any, there's less chance for less variables there that could go wrong. Because once we program the laser, it's going to make the same weld, same wobble every time.
Yeah.
And so.
What's the construction on the tube and the baffles?
So the tube is 17.4 H900. The blast baffle is stainless steel.
Okay.
The blast baffle is 718 Inconel. And then the rest of the baffle stack is 17.4 stainless steel H900 as well.
Okay.
We are working on basically doing an all Inconel stack like we did with the N6 and N4 2000. Those will be, we're working on them now. We're hoping to have them next year. But right now, the 5 and 7 are more similar to the 5.56 SD and the 7.62 SD of old.
Gotcha. Okay. What is it weight-wise, sound reduction-wise, kind of similar to other stuff? So
pretty much the weight on the 5 is about 15 ounces. The weight on the Ranger 7 is about 17 ounces, 17.2, somewhere around there. dB, what we've recorded, it's about on average 2 to 3 dBs louder than the M4 2000, which, you know.
That was your kind of old 5.56 cannon.
Right, that's the old tried and true M4 2000 that we've, you know, done a million of, it seems like. But like I said, even though we've raised dB just a little bit from that, we've reduced that back pressure. So that, like I said,
is that kind of the compromise? If you're trying to reduce back pressure, you're going to give up a little bit in dB?
From what we've found, yes, sir.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's a give and take relationship. The Ranger 7 surprisingly did the same, you know, on a bolt gun, 20-inch bolt gun, 308. Roughly about 20 dB, so the same as the 762 SD of old, and you still eliminate that back pressure a little bit. So we've lucked up with that one.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as dB sounds, they're about on par as the old cans. And the N6 or M4 2000, when we release the new ones of those, they'll be on par also, hopefully anyways.
Very cool. Yeah. It seems like it just keeps growing, the world of silencers, people wanting silencers. It's almost more common these days.
I would say so, yes, sir.
What are you guys kind of seeing? Where are things headed when it comes to this technology?
So it's one of those things. It's the new technology with the more companies that coming out, because there are more companies that are, you know, becoming more legit, from Form 1 companies to actual FFL, SOT, you know, big companies like your Dead Airs, your Silencer Co's, your Otter Creeks. It's basically an arms race. So that's, you know, it's good for the consumer base, because we're always trying to, you know, Otter's doing this, Dead Air's doing this. What can we do to improve that?
Right.
You know, what can we offer that's different from that? So basically, everybody is pushing everybody to make a better can for the end user. You know, it's one of those things, you know, people think every silencer company hates all the other silencer companies. It's not that. We all love each other.
Yeah, I find that definitely to be true over the years. And you guys are your own little weird group that, you know, hang out with each other. Cause, you're like this offshoot of
this redheaded stepchild of the industry.
Yeah,
because we're going away from the old traditional. We're just a bunch of, you know, young guys, degenerates. Just let's see what we can do. You know, and it's fun. You know, we all know each other for the most part. When we go to SHOT and things like that, we all hang out. You know, grab a beer and just, you know, talk smack to one another, because it's all in fun and games.
Well, I mean, although you guys keep innovating, there's just physics and science that are sort of the limitations to a certain degree. Of like, there is consistency in what sound levels do and what dB does. There is consistency in what pressures do, and to try to, you can't, you know, change the physics of it all. But
physics does not change.
Yeah, it's super consistent. Well, very cool. Josh, thanks for being on with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. And, you know, we look forward to letting y'all shoot the Rangers and get y'all's opinions. And like I said, just have fun with it. Yeah, absolutely. If people want to find out more about what AAC is doing, where do they go? Our website, www.advanced-armament.com, or you can give us a call at 1-800-581-1610. More than likely, I'll be the one picking up the phone. All right, so call Josh. You'll be able to talk to me. Perfect. All right, that's it for us. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.